Have you ever wondered what stress really does to your brain? Not the kind that comes before an important meeting, but the kind that never seems to go away. The kind that quietly builds up day after day. What science has discovered is alarming. This type of chronic stress doesn't just change how we think. It actually reshapes the brain. And the most disturbing part, most of these changes happen without us even noticing. Stress is a natural response. It's what helped us survive as a species. When something threatens us, the brain activates a powerful defense system. The adrenal glands release cortisol, the stress hormone. The heart beats faster, breathing accelerates, and the brain goes into full alert mode. This is useful in moments of real danger. But the problem begins when the brain never turns this system off. Today, what triggers stress isn't a predator or a storm. It's deadlines, notifications, pressure, and constant uncertainty. The brain doesn't know the difference between a life-threatening situation and an urgent email. It reacts as if survival were always at stake. Over time, this takes a heavy toll, a silent but devastating one. In this video, you'll discover how chronic stress physically changes the brain, how it affects memory, focus, and mood, and what science has revealed about how to protect and even repair the brain from its effects. The brain under attack. The role of cortisol. Cortisol is essential for survival, but in excess, it becomes toxic. When cortisol stays elevated for long periods, it begins to damage the hippocampus, the brain's center for memory and learning. Research from Yale University has shown that people exposed to prolonged stress develop measurable shrinkage in the hippocampus. The result is weaker memory, poor concentration, and greater vulnerability to anxiety and depression. Brain fact: the hippocampus is one of the few regions in the brain capable of producing new neurons throughout life, but high cortisol levels block this regeneration process. Tip: just 5 minutes of deep breathing can significantly reduce cortisol, according to studies published in Frontiers in Psychology. When the amygdala takes over, the amygdala is the brain's emotional alarm system. Under normal conditions, it detects danger and then relaxes. But under chronic stress, it becomes overactive. This means the brain starts to overreact to small triggers. Traffic, an email, a difficult conversation, everything feels like a threat. Researchers at Stanford University found that the longer someone lives under chronic stress, the more strongly the amygdala connects to other brain areas. It starts to dominate the nervous system. When that happens, logical reasoning managed by the prefrontal cortex loses control. You think less and react more. Brain fact: the amygdala can actually grow in volume after long periods of stress, a change that only reverses through consistent stress reduction. Tip: try a simple grounding technique. Name 5 things you can see, 4 you can touch, 3 you can hear, 2 you can smell, and 1 you can taste. This helps pull the brain out of threat mode and into the present moment. The prefrontal cortex, the silent victim. The prefrontal cortex is responsible for reasoning, decision-making, and self-control. But chronic stress weakens it literally. When cortisol circulates for too long, the connections between neurons in this region start to break down. That translates into poor focus, impulsive decisions, and a constant feeling of mental fatigue. A study from Harvard Medical School found that high stress levels reduce the density of synapses in the prefrontal cortex. In simple terms, the brain ends up with fewer paths to think clearly. Brain fact: chronic stress can reduce prefrontal cortex electrical activity by up to 20%, directly impairing focus and planning ability. Tip: expose yourself to natural light soon after waking up. 10 minutes of sunlight is enough to reset your circadian rhythm and help regulate cortisol naturally. The vicious cycle of brain inflammation. Stress doesn't just affect hormones, it triggers inflammation inside the brain. When cortisol is constantly released, the immune system becomes unbalanced. Microglia, the brain's defense cells, stay on high alert, releasing inflammatory molecules that disrupt neuron communication. Over time, this inflammation interferes with memory, slows down mental processing, and increases the risk of neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's. Researchers at the University of California found that people under chronic stress show elevated inflammatory proteins in their cerebrospinal fluid, a marker of SABI, a marker of SBIM-related brain aging. Brain fact: prolonged stress accelerates the shortening of telomeres, the protective caps at the ends of our DNA. A clear biological sign of aging. Tip: add omega-3 rich foods like walnuts, chia, or flax seeds to your diet. These nutrients help reduce brain inflammation and restore balance to stress responses. Memory and attention: the price of mental overload. Have you ever tried to remember something important during a stressful moment and couldn't? That's because stress blocks short-term memory. In high-alert states, the brain diverts energy away from memory and learning toward survival systems. Studies from the National Institute of Mental Health show that chronic stress suppresses hippocampal activity during memory tasks, while amplifying amygdala activity, in other words, the brain remembers what causes fear and forgets what's useful for everyday life. Brain fact: under stress, working memory capacity can drop by up to 70% within minutes. Tip: take a 2-minute deep breathing pause between tasks. It helps restore clarity and improves short-term memory retrieval. Stress and sleep: the pair that destroys the brain. Sleep is when the brain repairs itself, but stress steals that opportunity. When cortisol remains high, it interferes with melatonin, the hormone that induces deep sleep. You lie down, but your mind stays active, and without rest, the brain can't clear out toxins accumulated during the day. Scientists at the University of Rochester discovered that during deep sleep, the brain activates the glymphatic system, a network that removes metabolic waste linked to fatigue and neural aging. When this process doesn't happen, the brain literally poisons itself with its own byproducts. Brain fact: just one bad night's sleep can increase amygdala activity by 30%, making you more reactive to stress the next day. Tip: avoid screens and blue light for at least 60 minutes before bed. This simple change improves sleep quality and lowers nighttime cortisol. How to protect the brain and reverse the damage. Here's the good news: the brain is plastic. It can rebuild, reconnect, and recover even after years of chronic stress, but that requires conscious change. Science has revealed that small, consistent habits can restore chemical balance and even repair structural damage. Some of the most effective include: 1. Deep breathing and mindfulness meditation. They shrink the amygdala and strengthen the prefrontal cortex. 2. Regular physical exercise. It boosts the production of BDNF, the brain fertilizer that supports neuron growth. 3. Consistent high-quality sleep. It rebalances the hypothalamic pituitarial axis and restores control over cortisol levels. 4. Genuine social connection. Real conversations and emotional support reduce amygdala activity and release oxytocin, nature's antidote to stress. 5. Anti-inflammatory nutrition. Diets rich in fruits, vegetables, and healthy fats protect neurons from oxidative stress and inflammation. Brain fact: BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, is one of the most powerful molecules for neural repair, and physical exercise is one of the best natural ways to increase it. Tip: walk for 20 minutes in a natural environment at least 3 times a week. It's enough to lower cortisol and boost BDNF levels significantly. The power to heal the mind. Stress is inevitable, but constant suffering is not. The human brain is shaped by repetition. That means that the same way stress can slowly damage it, new habits can rebuild it. Every mindful breath, every pause, every moment of slowing down is a signal to the brain that the danger has passed. And in that state, healing begins. The brain regains balance, the mind becomes clearer, and life feels lighter again. Your mind doesn't need to live in a constant battle. It just needs room to breathe. If you found this video helpful, subscribe and turn on notifications. Every week, we share science-based insights to help you strengthen your memory, improve focus, and unlock your brain's full potential.